Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. I've been speaking all day and I don't have much voice left, but whatever voice I have is yours. Hare Krishna. We're hearing Govardhan again, and the Brahmachari techies just got back from their first trip to Vrindavan. Well, we have one experienced person who's been there once, and the rest have never been there. So luckily for us, they made it back after heroic dealings with the rickshaw wallahs between here and there. So here we are again, cozy in Govardhan ISKCON Bhaktivedanta Ashram in Govardhan, and ready to go forward with our reading of the 10th Canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam. We hope everyone's happy. I've gotten positive feedback from the quality of the recording yesterday. So we were right, the third time was a charm. In America they say 3 strikes and you're out. But it also says third time is a charm. So let's read Srila Sanatana Goswami's Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram, which we read every day to get us in the mood of hearing the Bhagavatam and understanding as deeply as we can what it is we're hearing, what the benefit is, how important it is. Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram, and it goes like this. Anybody who can chant with me, please chant along. Sarva Shastabdipi Yusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokaika Drikprida. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad-Bhagavata Prabho Kalidwan Dudita Ditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad-Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostu Me. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madhika Bandho Matsangin Madguro Mad Mahadana Mad Nishdadaga Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu saduta dayin atini chuchata kada hanamunchigada chinmam premnarit kantayospuda. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, we've reached the 30th chapter of the 10th canto. The Gopis search for Krishna. We heard yesterday how, after teasing the Gopis with equivocal words, finally they began the rasa dance, and the Gopis became proud. Actually, they were proud of Krishna. but he didn't want them to get proud in the wrong way. So he left. And now we're going to hear the Gopis search for Krishna. This chapter describes how the Gopis, tormented through the long night by separation from Krishna, wandered like mad women from forest to forest in search of him. When Sri Krishna suddenly disappeared from the arena of the rasa dance, the Gopis, their mind fully absorbed in thoughts of him, began looking for him in the various forests. From all the moving and non-moving creatures, they asked for news of Krishna's whereabouts. Finally, they became so distraught that they began imitating his pastimes. Later, while wandering in the corner of the forest, the Gopis saw Sri Krishna's footprints, which appeared mixed with Srimati Radharani's. Seeing these footprints perturbed them greatly, and they declared that surely Srimati Radharani must have worshipped Krishna with unusual excellence, since she had been privileged to associate with him in seclusion. Further along the path, the Gopis came to a place where they could no longer see Srimati Radharani's footprints. They then concluded that Krishna must have taken Radharani onto his shoulders. In another place, they noticed that Krishna's footprints were showing only the toes, and thus the Gopis concluded he had been picking flowers with which to decorate his beloved. In yet another spot, the Gopis saw signs that led them to imagine that Sri Krishna had been tying the locks of Srimati Radharani's hair. All these thoughts brought pain to the Gopis' minds. Because of the special attention she received from Krishna, Sri Radha began to consider herself the most fortunate woman. She told him that she could walk no further and that he would have to carry her on his shoulders. But just then, Lord Krishna disappeared from her sight. Srimati Radharani, extremely troubled, then went looking everywhere for him, and when she finally met her Gopi girlfriends, she related to them what had happened. All the Gopis then went out to look for Krishna in the forest, going as far as the moonlight reached. But in the end, they were unsuccessful, so they went back to the shore of the Yamuna and simply sang Krishna's glories in utter helplessness. Text 1. Shukadev Goswami said, when Lord Krishna disappeared so suddenly, the Gopis felt great sorrow in losing sight of him, like a group of female elephants who have lost their mate. Text 2. As the cowherd women remembered Lord Krishna, their hearts were overwhelmed by his movements and loving smiles, his playful glances, and enchanting talks, and by the many other pastimes he would enjoy with them. Thus absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, the Lord of Rama, the Gopis began acting out his various transcendental pastimes. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes the following charming exchange between Krishna and the Gopis. Krishna said to a Gopi, "My dear land lily, are you going to offer your honey to this very first thirsty honeybee or not?" The Gopi replied, "My dear bee, the husband of the lilies is the sun, not the bee. So why are you claiming that my honey belongs to you?" "But my dear lily, the very nature of your lilies is that you don't give your honey to your husband, the sun, but rather to your paramour, the bee." The Gopi, defeated by the words of Krishna, laughed and then gave him her lips as honey to drink. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also describes the following conversation. Krishna said to a gopi, I can understand that as you approach this nipa tree standing here, you were bitten by an audacious snake. Its venom has already reached your chest, but since you are a respectable maiden, you haven't asked me to cure you. Still, I've come, being merciful by nature. Now while I massage your body with my hands, I'll chant a mantra to counteract the serpent's poison. The gopi said, but my dear snake charmer, no snake has bitten me. Go massage the body of some girl who actually has suffered a snake bite. Come now, my dear respectable girl, from your trembling voice I can tell that you are experiencing a feverish reaction to poisoning. Knowing this, if I don't take care of you, I'll be guilty of killing an innocent woman, so let me treat you. With this, Krishna applied his fingernails to the gopi's chest. Text 3. Because the beloved gopis were absorbed in thoughts of their beloved Krishna, their bodies imitated his way of moving and smiling, his way of beholding them, his speech, and his other distinctive features. Deeply immersed in thinking of him and maddened by remembering his pastimes, they declared to one another, I am Krishna. Purport. Spontaneously the gopis began moving like Krishna. They smiled as he would smile, glanced boldly as he would, and spoke as he would. The gopis were completely absorbed in the existence of Krishna and mad with love at their sudden separation from him, and thus their dedication to him attained absolute perfection. Text 4. Singing loudly of Krishna, they searched for him throughout the Vrindavan forest like a band of mad women. They even asked the trees about him, who as the Supersoul is present. They even asked the trees about him, who, as the Supersoul is present inside and outside of all created things, just like the sky. Purport. Lost in the madness of love for Krishna, the gopis inquired from him, from even in the trees in Vrindavan. Of course, there is no actual separation from Lord Krishna, since he is the all-pervading Super Soul. Text 5. The gopis said, O Ashwata tree, O Plaksha, O Nyagrodha, have you seen Krishna? That son of Nanda Maharaj has gone away after stealing our minds with his loving smiles and glances. 6. O Kodabaka tree, O Ashok, O Naga, Punaga, and Champaka, as Balaram's younger brother, whose smile removes the audacity of all proud women, passed this way. Purport. As soon as the gopis saw that a particular tree would not answer them, they impatiently left it and rushed off to another to make further inquiries. Text 7. O most kind Tulasi, to whom the feet of Govinda are so dear, have you seen that infallible one walk by, wearing you and encircled by swarms of bees? Purport. The Acharyas explain here that the word charana is a term of respect, as in the expression evam vedantyacharya charana. The bees humming around the garland worn by Sri Govinda were attracted by the fragrance of the tulsi manjaris offered to him. The gopis felt that the trees had not replied because they were male, but that Tulasi, being female, would sympathize with their plight. 8. O Malati, O Malika, O Jati, and Utika, has Madhava gone by here, giving you pleasure with the touch of his hand? Purport. When even Tulsi herself did not answer the gopis, they approached the fragrant jasmine flowers. The gopis, seeing the jasmine vines humbly bowing down, assumed that these plants must have seen Lord Krishna and were therefore showing humility in their ecstasy. Text 9. O Chuta, O Priyala, O Panasa, Asana, and Kovidara, O Jambu, O Arka, O Bilva, Bakul, and Amra, O Kadamba, and Nipa, and all you other plants and trees living on the banks of the Yamuna, who have dedicated your very existence to the welfare of others, we gopis have lost our minds, so please tell us where Krishna has gone. Purport. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the Chuta is a mango creeper, whereas the Amra is a mango tree. He goes on to explain that the Nipa, although not a very prominent tree, bears large flowers, and that the gopis' desperation to find Krishna is clearly shown by the fact that they approached the insignificant Arka plant. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti gives the following information about Vrindavan's trees. The Nipa is the dust kadamba, and it has large flowers. The kadamba proper has smaller flowers and a very pleasant fragrance. The Kovidara is a particular type of Kanchanara, mountain ebony tree. Even though the Arka plant is very insignificant, it always grows near Lord Gopishwar, the Shiva deity in Vrindavan forest. I forgot his name, I was explaining in my pictures in my room. Gopishwar. Text 10. O Mother Earth, what austerity did you perform to attain the touch of the Lord Kesava's lotus feet, which has brought you such great joy that your bodily hairs are standing on end? You appear very beautiful in this condition. Was it during the Lord's current appearance that you acquired this ecstatic symptom? Or was it perhaps much earlier, when he stepped upon you in the form of the dwarf Vamanadev? Or even earlier, when he embraced you in his form of the boar Varahadev? Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti explains the thoughts of the gopis as follows. Perhaps the trees and plants mentioned in the previous verses did not hear our question because they were in trance, meditating upon Lord Vishnu. Or perhaps, since they will not tell us where Krishna has gone, they are hard-hearted, even though they live in a holy place. Anyway, what is the use of unnecessarily criticizing the residents of a holy place? We cannot tell if they really know where Krishna has gone. So let us find someone who definitely knows where he is. Thus the gopis concluded that since Lord Krishna had to be somewhere on the earth itself, the earth herself, must know his whereabouts. Then the gopis thought, since Krishna always walks on the earth, she is never separated from him, and thus cannot understand how much his parents, girlfriends, and servants suffer in his absence. Let us ask her what austerities she has performed to gain the great fortune of being constantly touched by the feet of Lord Kesava. Text 11. O friend, wife of the deer, has Lord Achyuta been here with his beloved, bringing great joy to your eyes? Indeed, blowing this way is the fragrance of his garland of kunda flowers, which was smeared with the kumkum from the breasts of his girlfriend when he embraced her. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti provides the following charming commentary on this verse. The gopis spoke to a doe, O friend, wife of the deer, from the bliss in your clear eyes, we can tell that Sri Krishna has expanded your joy with the beauty of his limbs, his face, and so forth. You are eager to realize the ecstasy of seeing Krishna, and thus your eyes are following him. In fact, he is never lost to you. Then the gopis, seeing the doe continue to walk in her natural way, exclaimed, Oh, are you telling us that you have seen Krishna? Look! As this deer walks, she constantly turns her head back to us as if to say, I will show you him to you. Just follow me, and I will show you Krishna. In this merciless Vrindavan, she is the only merciful person. As the gopis follow the doe, they happen to lose sight of her, and they cry out, Oh, why can't we see the deer who is showing us the way to Krishna? One gopi suggests that Krishna must be somewhere in the vicinity, and that the deer, being afraid of him, must have hidden herself to avoid the possible mistake of revealing his presence. Conjecturing in this way, the gopis detect a fragrance that has by chance blown their way, and they repeatedly declare with great joy, Yes, yes, this is it. By Krishna's physical contact with his girlfriend, his jasmine garland was smeared with the kumkum powder on her breasts, and the fragrances of all these things are reaching us. Thus the gopis smell the aroma of the two lovers' bodies, of Krishna's jasmine garland, and of the cosmetic powder on the breasts of his lover. Text 12. Actually, it's easier to read without the fans, if you can tolerate. O trees, we see that you are bowing down. When the younger brother of Rama walked by here, followed by intoxicated bees swarming around the tulsi manjaris, decorating his garland, did he acknowledge your obeisances with his affectionate glances? He must have been resting his arm on the shoulder of his beloved and carrying a lotus flower in his free hand. Purport. The gopis saw that the trees, bent over with abundant fruits and flowers, were offering obeisances to Lord Krishna. The gopis supposed Krishna must have recently passed that way, since the trees were still bowing down. Because Sri Krishna had left the gopis to go with his favorite consort, they were jealous, and thus imagined that he had become fatigued from his loving affairs and was resting his left arm on the soft shoulder of his beloved. The gopis further imagined that Krishna must have been carrying a blue lotus in his right hand to drive away the bees eagerly trying to attack his beloved's face after smelling its aroma. The scene was so beautiful, the gopis imagined, that the maddened bees had left the tulsi garden to follow the two lovers. Text 13. Let us ask these creepers about Krishna. Even though they are embracing the arms of their husband, this tree, they certainly must have been touched by Krishna's fingernails, since out of joy they are manifesting eruptions on their skin. Purport. The gopis reasoned that the creepers would not show signs of rapture merely by physical contact with their husband, a tree. Thus the gopis concluded that although the creepers were embracing the strong limbs of their husband, they must have been touched by Lord Krishna as he moved through the forest. 14. Having spoken these words, the gopis, distraught from searching for Krishna, began to act out his various pastimes, fully absorbed in thoughts of him. Text 15. One gopi imitated Putana, while another acted like infant Krishna and pretended to suck her breast. Another gopi, crying in imitation of infant Krishna, kicked the gopi who was taking the role of the cart demon, Shakatasura. 16. One gopi took the role of Trinabarta and carried away another who was acting like infant Krishna, while yet another gopi crawled about, her ankle bells tinkling as she pulled her feet. Purport. The gopis started imitating all of Sri Krishna's pastimes, beginning from his earliest activities as a baby. 17. Two gopis acted like Rama and Krishna in the midst of several others, who took the role of cowherd boys. One gopi enacted Krishna's killing of the demon Vatsasura, represented by another gopi, and a pair of gopis acted out the killing of Bakasura. 18. When one gopi perfectly imitated how Krishna would call the cows who had wandered far away, how he would play his flute, and how he would engage in various sports, the others congratulated her with exclamations of "Well done, well done." 19. Another gopi, her mind fixed on Krishna, walked about with her arm resting on the shoulder of a friend and declared, "I am Krishna, just see how gracefully I move." 20. Don't be afraid of the wind and rain, one gopi said. I will save you. And with that she lifted her shawl above her head. Purport. Here a gopi enacts Lord Krishna's pastime of lifting Govardhan hill. Text 21. Shukadeva Goswami continued, O king, one gopi climbed on another's shoulders, and putting her foot on the other's head, said, "Go away from here, O wicked snake. You should know that I have taken birth in this world just to punish the envious." Purport. Here the gopi enacts Krishna's chastisement of Kaliya. 22. Then another gopi spoke up, "My dear cowherd boys, look at this raging forest fire. Quickly close your eyes, and I will easily protect you." 23. One gopi tied up her slender companion with a flower garland and said, "Now I will bind this boy who has broken the butter pots and stolen the butter." The second gopi then covered her face and beautiful eyes, pretending to be afraid. 24. While the gopis who were thus imitating Krishna's pastimes and asking Vrindavan's creepers and trees where Krishna, the Supreme Soul, might be, they happened to see his footprints in a corner of the forest. 25. The gopi said, "The marks of a flag, a lotus, a thunderbolt, an elephant, and a barley corn, and so forth, on these footprints clearly distinguish them as belonging to that great soul, the son of Nanda Maharaj." Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his commentary on this verse, gives the following scriptural information about the symbolic markings on the lotus feet of Krishna. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary on this verse, gives the following scriptural information about the symbolic markings on the lotus feet of Krishna. In the following verses of the Skanda Purana, the Skanda Purana states the particular places on his feet where Krishna carries the mark of the flag and also other marks, and the reasons for these marks. This is very interesting. This is real meditation. Dakshinasya padangushta mule chakram bivartyajaha tatrabhakda janasyari shadvarga chitanaya saha. At the base of the large toe of his right foot, the unborn Lord carries the mark of a disc which cuts down the 6 mental enemies of his devotees. There you go. You want to control your minds? Meditate on this part of Krishna's foot. Madhyaman gulamule cha date kamalamachyutaha Yatrichitta Diripanam Lopanaya Tishobanam. At the bottom of the middle toe of that same foot, Lord Krishna has a lotus flower, which increases the greed for him in the minds of the bee-like devotees who meditate on his feet. Kanishna mulato vajram Bhakta papad vibedanam Parshni madhye nukusham bhakta Chiteba pachakarinam. At the base of his small toe is a thunderbolt, which smashes the mountains of his devotees' reactions to past sins. And in the middle of his heel is the mark of an elephant goad, which brings the elephants of his devotees' minds under control. Bhoga sampanmayam date yavam angushta parvani. The joint of his right large toe bears the mark of a barley corn, representing all kinds of enjoyable opulences. The Skanda Purana also states, Vajram vai dakshine parshve ankusho vai tadagrataha. A thunderbolt is found on the right side of his right foot and an elephant goad below that. The Acharyas of the Vaishnava Sampradaya explain that since the particular feet under discussion are Lord Krishna's, we should know that the thunderbolt is at the base of his small toe and the elephant goad below the thunderbolt. An elephant goad on the heel belongs rather to Lord Narayana and other Vishnu Tattva expansions. Thus the Skanda Purana describes 6 marks on Krishna's right foot: the disc, flag, lotus, thunderbolt, elephant goad, and barley corn. And the Vaishnava Toshini mentions even more marks: a vertical line beginning at the middle of his foot and continuing as far as the juncture between his big toe and second toe, an umbrella below the disc, and the base of the middle of his foot, at the base of the middle of his foot, a group of 4 swastikas in the 4 cardinal directions. At the 4 points where each swastika meets the next, 4 rose apples, and in the middle of the swastikas, an octagon. This makes 11 marks on Krishna's right foot. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes the marks on Krishna's left foot as follows. At the base of the large toe is a conch shell with its mouth facing the toe. At the base of the middle toe are 2 concentric circles representing the inner and outer sky. Below this mark is Cupid's unstrung bow. At the base of the bow is a triangle, and surrounding the triangle is a group of 4 water pots. At the base of the triangle is a half moon with two more triangles touching its points. And below the half moon is a fish. Altogether then, there are 19 distinguishing marks on the soles of Lord Krishna's lotus feet. Hare Krishna. Text 26. The Gopis began following Krishna's path, as shown by his many footprints. But when they saw that these prints were thoroughly intermixed with those of his dearmost consort, they became perturbed and spoke as follows. 27. The Gopis said, "Here we see the footprints of some Gopi who must have been walking along with the son of Nanda Maharaj. He must have put his arm on her shoulder, just as an elephant rests his trunk on the shoulder of an accompanying she-elephant." 28. This is a very important verse. Anaya radito nunam Bhagavan Hadar Ishwaraha Yanno Vihaya Govinda Pritoyam Anayadvaha. Certainly this particular Gopi has perfectly worshipped the all-powerful personality of Godhead, Govinda, since he was so pleased with her that he abandoned the rest of us and brought her to a secluded place. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the word Aradhita refers to Srimati Radharani. He comments, the sage Shukadev Goswami has tried with all endeavor to keep her name hidden, but now it automatically shines forth from the moon of his mouth. That he has spoken her name is indeed her mercy, and thus the word Aradhita is like the rumbling of a kettle drum, sounded to announce her great good fortune. Although the Gopis spoke as if jealous of Srimati Radharani, they were actually ecstatic to see that she had captured Sri Krishna. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti quotes the following detailed description of Srimati Radharani's footprints as given by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Sri Ujjvala Nilamani. At the base of the large toe of her left foot is the mark of a barley corn. Below that mark is a disc. Below the disc is an umbrella, and below the umbrella is a bracelet. A vertical line extends from the middle of her foot to the juncture of her large and second toes. At the base of the middle toe is a lotus. Below that is a flag with a banner, and below the flag is a creeper, together with a flower. At the base of her small toe is an elephant goad, and upon her feet, and upon her heel, is a half moon. Thus there are 11 marks on her left foot. At the base of the large toe of her right foot is a conch shell, and below that a spear. At the base of the small toe of her right foot is a sacrificial altar. Below that, an earring, and below the earring, a club. Along the base of the second, third, fourth, and small toes is the mark of a mountain, below which is a chariot, and on the heel is a fish. Thus, altogether, there are 19 distinguishing marks on the soles of Srimati Radharani's lotus feet. 29. O girls, the dust of Govinda's lotus feet is so sacred that even Brahma, Shiva, and the goddess Rama take that dust upon their heads to dispel sinful reactions. Thank you. I wonder if this is going on to do this whole wall for the... Huh? Really? It's almost finished. I see. Okay, again, 29. O girls, the dust of Govinda's lotus feet is so sacred that even Brahma, Shiva, and the goddess Rama take that dust upon their heads to dispel sinful reactions. Purport. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, who quotes from Shastra, each day in the late afternoon, as Krishna returned from the cow pastures with his cowherd boyfriends, great demigods like Brahma and Shiva would come down from heaven and take the dust of his feet. Great personalities like the goddess Rama, the wife of Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma are not at all sinful, but in the ecstasy of pure Krishna consciousness, they feel themselves fallen and impure. Thus, desiring to purify themselves, they blissfully take the dust of the lotus feet on their heads. So this sentence is very important because it shows that one of the symptoms of one advancing in Krishna consciousness is that they feel less advanced. The more you actually advance in Krishna consciousness, the more you feel fallen and impure. And therefore, the quality of your service becomes intense, eager, enthusiastic. Whereas if you just felt like you were getting better and better and better and better, you wouldn't be able to have the same intensity of your service. So these are all symptoms of madness, only not the kind of madness that causes you to go to an insane asylum, the kind of madness that makes you eligible to attract Krishna. Text 30. These footprints of that special gopi greatly disturb us. Of all the gopis, she alone was taken away to a secluded place, where she is enjoying the lips of Krishna. Look, we can't see her footprints over here. It's obvious that the grass and sprouts were hurting her tender soles of her feet, and so the lover lifted up his beloved. Text 31. Please observe, my dear gopis, how in this place lusty Krishna's footprints are pressed more deeply into the ground. Carrying the weight of his beloved must have been difficult for him. And over here, that intelligent boy must have put her down to gather some flowers. Purport. The word Bonum indicates that even though Sri Krishna was not officially married to Radharani, he had in fact made her his bride in the Vrindavan forest. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the gopis used the word Kamina here to indicate the following thoughts. We actually love Sri Krishna, but still he has rejected us. Therefore his private dealings with Radharani prove that this young prince of Braja has carried her away. (33) Certainly Krishna sat down here with his girlfriend to arrange her hair. The lusty boy must have made a crown for that lusty girl out of the flowers he had collected. Purport. The Acharyas explain that Sri Krishna wanted to decorate Radharani's hair with the forest flowers he had collected. Therefore, they sat down together, facing the same direction, with Radharani between Krishna's knees and Krishna proceeding to arrange her hair with flowers and make a flower crown for her, coronating her as the goddess of the forest. Thus the romantic young boy and girl played and joked together in Vrindavan. Text 34.
Said there's just some interruptions. That's what it's going good from our side.
Shukadeva Goswami continued. Lord Krishna enjoyed with that gopi, although he enjoys only within, being self-satisfied and complete in himself. Thus, by contrast, he showed the wretchedness of ordinary lusty men and hard-hearted women. I'm going to read that again. Shukadeva Goswami continued. Lord Krishna enjoyed with that gopi, although he enjoys only within, being self-satisfied and complete in himself. Thus, by contrast, he showed the wretchedness of ordinary lusty men and hard-hearted women. Purport. This verse directly refutes the superficial criticism materialistic people sometimes direct against Lord Krishna's pastimes. The philosopher Aristotle claimed that ordinary activities are unworthy of God, and with this idea in mind, some people declare that since the activities of Lord Krishna resemble those of ordinary human beings, he cannot be the absolute truth. But in this verse, Shukadeva Goswami emphatically points out that Lord Krishna acts on the liberated platform of spiritual self-satisfaction. The fact is indicated here by the terms Atmarata, Atmarama, and Akandita. It is inconceivable to ordinary people that a handsome young boy and a beautiful young girl enjoying romantic conjugal affairs in the forest moonlight can be engaging in pure activity, free from egotistic desire and lust. Yet while Lord Krishna is inconceivable to ordinary persons, those who love him can easily realize the absolute, pure nature of his activities. Not theoretical, it has been practiced and completed by many thousands of great sages who have left us their shining example and their brilliant teachings concerning the path of Krishna consciousness. Certainly beauty is in the eye of the beholder. However, real beauty is perceived by the soul's eye and not by the lusty eye of the material body. Therefore, the Vedic literature repeatedly stresses that only those freed from material desire can see the beauty of Lord Krishna with the eye of the pure soul, anointed with love of Godhead. It may finally be noted that upon realizing the pastimes of Lord Krishna, one becomes free of all tinges of sex. states that the Absolute Truth is the source of everything. So certainly, the Absolute cannot lack any of the beautiful things of this world. It is only because romantic affairs exist in a pure spiritual form in the Absolute that they can manifest in a perverted material form in this world. Thus, the apparent beauty of this world is not to be absolutely rejected. Rather, beauty should be accepted in its pure spiritual form. Since the beginning of time, men and women have been inspired to poetic rapture in the art of romance. Unfortunately, romance in this world usually leads to crushing disappointment, brought about by a change of heart or by death. Thus, although we may at first find romantic affairs beautiful and enjoyable, they are eventually spoiled. Of Srimad-Bhagavatam. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. My dear godbrothers who wrote that purport, ki jai. Text 35 and 36. As the gopis wandered about, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur ki jai. As the gopis wandered about, their minds completely bewildered, they pointed out various signs of Krishna's pastimes. The particular gopi whom Krishna had led into a secluded forest when he had abandoned all the other young girls began to think herself the best of women. My beloved has rejected all the other gopis, she thought. Even though they are driven by Cupid himself, he has chosen to reciprocate with me alone. Purport. Previously, all the gopis had become proud of their association with Krishna, and then suddenly lost his association. Only Radharani remained with him. Now, she has also become proud of that association and will suffer a similar fate. The Lord arranges all this to reveal the gopis' unparalleled devotion for him, a devotion whose intensity fully manifests in moments of separation. 37. As the two lovers passed through one part of the Vrindavan forest, the special gopi began feeling proud of herself. She told Lord Keshava, "I cannot walk any further. Please carry me wherever you want to go." 38. Thus addressed, Lord Krishna replied, "Just climb on my shoulders." But as soon as he said this, he disappeared. His beloved consort then immediately felt great remorse. Purport. Srimati Radharani was exhibiting the pride of a beautiful girl who has brought her boyfriend under control. Thus she told Krishna, "Please carry me wherever you want to go. I can't walk anymore." Sri Krishna now disappears from her sight, intensifying her ecstatic love more and more. Text 39. She cried out, "O Master, my lover, O dearmost, where are you? Where are you? Please, O mighty armed one, O friend, show yourself to me, your poor servant." Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes the following moving exchange. Radha says, "My Lord, I am being burned in the great fire of separation from you, and my life air is about to leave my body. Even with the greatest endeavor, I cannot maintain my life. But you are the Lord of my life, and so you can quickly save me simply by glancing upon me. Please do so immediately. I beg you to save my life, not for my sake, but rather for yours. After giving up all the other gopis, you've brought me so far to a secluded place in the forest, just to enjoy special pleasure with me. If I die, you will not be able to find conjugal happiness anywhere else. You will remember me, and thus lament in your sorrow. Krishna replies, so let me become unhappy? What does that matter to you? But you are most dear to me. I will feel your unhappiness millions of times more than you. Even if I've already died, I still will not be able to tolerate the pain that even one spot on the nails of your lotus feet may experience. Indeed, to prevent such pain, I am ready to throw my life away millions and millions of times. So kindly show yourself and drive away that unhappiness. But if your life air is on the verge of leaving your body, what can I do to stop that? Simply by the touch of your arms, which are a medicinal herb, with the power to revive the dead, my body will return to its healthy, normal condition, and my life air will automatically come back and remain in my body. But you know the forest path yourself without my help. So why did you order me, the king's son, and a very young and gentle boy who is to be respected? Why did you command to take me wherever you wish? Why do you anger me like this? Radha cries out, please show yourself to your wretched maidservant. Be merciful to me. Be merciful. When I ordered you, I was overcome by sleepiness. I was so tired from playing with you. Therefore, please excuse what your poor servant said. Please don't be angry. It was only because you treated me like such a close friend, though I am unworthy. And I spoke like that I spoke like that to you. All right, my love, I am very pleased with you, so please, come to me. But I've been blinded by lamentation. I can't see where you are. Please, tell me where you are. Text 40. Shukadeva Goswami said, while continuing to search out Krishna's path, the gopis discovered their unhappy friend close by. She was bewildered by separation from her lover. Text 41. She told him how Madhava had given her much respect, but how she then suffered dishonor because of her misbehavior. The gopis were extremely amazed to hear this. Purport. It was natural for Radharani to ask Krishna to carry her, for this request was consistent with the loving mood of their relationship. Now, however, in great humility, she describes her behavior as wicked. Hearing of these affairs, the other gopis are astonished. 42. In search of Krishna, the gopis then entered the depths of the forest, as far as the light of the moon shone. But when they found themselves engulfed in darkness, they decided to turn back. Purport. The gopis entered a part of the forest so dense that even the light of the full moon couldn't penetrate it. This scene is also described in the Vishnu Purana. Pravishto gahanam Krishna padam atra nalakshate nivartadvam Shashankasya naita ditidigochara. One gopi said, Krishna has entered such a dark part of the forest that we cannot possibly see his footprints. Therefore, let us turn back from this area, which even the light of the moon cannot reach. 43. Their minds absorbed in thoughts of him, they conversed about him, acted out his pastimes, and felt themselves filled with his presence. They completely forgot about their homes as they loudly sang the glories of Krishna's transcendental qualities. Purport. Actually, there is no separation from Krishna for the pure devotees of Krishna, of the Lord. Although apparently abandoned by Krishna, the gopis were actually tightly connected to him by the spiritual process of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. I will repeat that unless anybody objects. Actually, there is no separation from Krishna for the pure devotees of the Lord. Although apparently abandoned by Krishna, the gopis were actually tightly connected to him by the spiritual process of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. Text 44. Available to everyone, at any time, free, the greatest treasure, cost you nothing, just the price of your eagerness to hear. The gopis again came to the bank of the Kalindi, meditating on Krishna and eagerly hoping he would come. They sat down together to sing of him. Purport. As stated in the Katha Upanishad 1.2.23, Yam evaisha vinute tena labhya. The super soul can be realized by that person whom he chooses. Thus the gopis fervently pray that Krishna come back to them. Thus end the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 30th chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled The Gopis' Search for Krishna. Did you ever notice this picture of Radharani? Wherever you're in the room, wherever you are in the room, she's looking right at you. Try it. Then move over here and you look and she's looking right at you. Move over there and she's looking right at you. Move over there, she's looking right at you. It's the most beautiful photo of Radharani I've ever seen. Okay. So we completed a complete chapter today, and it was a very intimate chapter. Most powerful, pure, and it's going to get even more powerful each chapter until we finish the 33rd chapter. Now, we have a bunch of brahmacharis who just ran off to Vrindavan, have been running around, haven't eaten anything. They can barely sit or stand, what to speak of here. So I don't know what kind of, comments you're going to give, but we're going to give them their chance. And we've got two lovely ladies over here that are just eager to say something to enlighten us. So here we go. Our open mic session. Yes, Jayashree has got the courage to start.
Just feeling. Actually, when I read this part of the Rasa dance, I remember the first time when I read this, hear this, I feel angry with Krishna. Because he's treating the gopis. The gopis are so dedicated to Krishna. They serve him. They only wish to please Krishna. But Krishna seems to be externally so cruel, and he disappeared at the middle of the Rasa dance, and the gopis, they are mad searching for him, and he was just hidden somewhere, very close to them, but he never shown up. And of course, intellectually, we are taught that if the highest mood of serving is to serve in separation, but still, I can't stop myself from thinking that Krishna is so.
Yes.
It's a bit hard and very unkind to his dear servants.
Yes.
Is it mentality? I mean.
Well, it's the problem. It's a problem for us in this material world, because the highest material pleasure in this world is this romantic sexual affair. It is the most intense pleasure. And therefore, those who have that pleasure won't be able to understand that what Krishna is doing is actually a great favor for the gopis, because he knows how much they love him, and he knows how they're going to feel when they're actually come to the point of talking to the trees and acting out his pastimes with each other, sometimes becoming so absorbed in thoughts of him that they actually think that they're him. This isn't the same as impersonalism. It's not the same as Mayavadi philosophy, where one thinks that they're God, because they're actually acting out his personal form and his personal activities. It's completely different. So it's a dilemma. As long as we're not completely purified, these kinds of thoughts will come. And then by hearing and hearing and hearing and discussing with others, sincere devotees, gradually it will become revealed to us. I thought that one statement that we read, it was toward the end, that none of us are actually separated from Krishna. Actually, there is no separation from Krishna for the pure devotees of the Lord. Although apparently abandoned by Krishna, the gopis were actually tightly connected to him by the spiritual process of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, and that's what we're doing every day, to try to awaken and purify our hearts and our minds so that we actually taste that we can taste it. You can't taste it as long as your mind and senses are here, there, and everywhere. But even if they aren't here, there, and everywhere, as long as you have a material body and there's still a pinch of lust, a pinch of material desire, you can't fully understand. So all you can do is to continue to hear and chant about them and try to understand, but not dwell there. This is the point that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur made very strongly, and that our own Srila Prabhupada made very strongly. Don't dwell there as long as you are still tinged with material desires. And if you hear these things and you feel yourself becoming sexually agitated, and you start remembering pastimes of, love, and all those things, then just put it aside, stop. But just don't stop and let your mind dwell on those things. Go to the Gita, go to other places of the Krishna pastimes, especially your favorites, so that you get again back on the track, back in the right space. And this way, gradually, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used the term incidental hearing. If you keep hearing these pastimes, and then after we get to this part, then Krishna's going to go out of Vrindavan and he's going to wreak havoc, take all the demons and just wipe them off the face of the earth. And then he's going to have there's going to be this very elevated philosophical treatise by the prayers by the personified Vedas, which is going to set everything even more deeper into proper order. Like each time along the Bhagavatam, there's different descriptions of how it is that things are working in this material world. And there's also interspersed pastimes of the incarnations. And then interspersed with that, there are actual remembrances of Krishna's pastimes. Bhishma leaves his body. What's the last thing he thinks of? He glorifies Krishna and the Gopis dancing together and calls him the greatest brahmachari. Hello? So this is incidental hearing. And we just keep hearing and not prematurely trying to focus or dwell, especially on these topics. But that doesn't mean, as Prabhupada said, I'll tell you a little story. When the Chaitanya Charitamrita first came out, there's long soliloquies of Lord Chaitanya in the mood of Radharani, talking about all these things. And therefore, some of the devotees in LA, they started deciding that they would just dwell on those things and not hear anything else. Because it says in the Gita, doesn't it? Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam, jajat yante kalevadam, tam tam evaiti konteya, siddhatad bhava bhavita. Whatever I'm thinking of at the time of death, that's where I'll go. So to think, okay, I'm going to think about gopis all the time, and then when I leave my body, I'll become a gopi. As if you can, gate crash the rasa dance, So Prabhupada heard about it, and he was furious. And he got the ringleaders into his room, and I wasn't right there. I was in San Francisco, just up the road, but you know how it is when Prabhupada was here. Whatever he spoke, it went around the world 7 times before you could think about it. We found out immediately about this. And actually I was in another place. Yeah, I was in another place in America. Anyway, we found it quickly. And he was furious. And there's actual tapes of this, where you can hear just how furious he was. He was furious. And he told them, you're not ready for this. And then they started to quote Prabhupada's books to him to convince him that he was doing what they wanted him to do. Did you hear that? They're quoting Prabhupada's books to him personally, to his face, to try to convince him that they were doing what he wanted them to do. When he's telling them to their face, I don't want you to do this. I mean, that's how bewildered they had become. And that's how bewildered a person can become when they put their own sensual desire. And guess what happened? Later on, some of them got pregnant. In other words, they weren't following. They weren't doing what they said they were doing. It was just sahajasam. It was just lust. And then at the end, after they left, and Prabhupada went on and on and on, and some of his leading sannyasis were there. They were like, let us, be careful with Prabhupada now, And then he smiled and he said, but this doesn't mean that we boycott Srimati Radharani. So in this way, he very vividly and very poignantly reminded us that we have to and the other is sahajism. When you take it cheaply and try to imitate Krishna's pastimes with your body and other people's bodies, or the other is the mayavad, where you try to become intimate by becoming one. by giving up your identity altogether. Both of them are deviations. So this was a very, very important incident, and therefore we should be very careful. Oh yes, I was going to say, but the symptom of this sahajism, the first one is that you don't like to hear about other things about Krishna. You'll think that that will bring you down. That's the symptom of sentimental misunderstanding. You don't want to hear Bhagavad Gita anymore. You don't want to hear about Krishna, killing the demons. You don't want to hear, Dwarka, or. There is a symptom like that if you're actually in the spiritual world. When the Gopis came to see Krishna in Kurukshetra, and he invited them to come to Dwarka, because if you're feeling so much separation from me, let's go. We'll go back to Dwarka, and then we can have our good times and let the good times roll. And they said, no. We'll only go. We're coming back to Vrindavan, and you have to come with us. So there is a stage of advancement in which one will only want to be with Krishna in Vrindavan, but that's not to be imitated. And if you go there, you're poisoned. Therefore, the safe path is to continue to hear all the books straight through, because they're all organized in such a way as in the beginning is deep philosophy, spiritual science, and only gradually does it build to the proper understanding of Krishna's potencies and glories, and then eventually come to his pastimes in Vrindavan. Their highest, no doubt, they are the most intense, but in the spiritual world, if your original form is a coward boy, it's not that the gopis are higher than you. It means if you're a coward boy in your spiritual world, that's the highest for you. So Prabhupada didn't like the word high and low in relationship to the spiritual world. Different. The relationships are different. They have different degrees of intimacy or different moods, but not higher or lower. In the spiritual world, everything is on the absolute platform, Shuddha Sattva. There are no modes of nature. Ignorance, passion, goodness, higher and lower. But in the spiritual world, there is no ignorance, goodness, passion, and goodness. It's Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness. All the activities, pure goodness. So you have to become fixed in that philosophy. You have to be absorbed in that understanding to be able to hear these pastimes between Radharani and the Gopis properly and not become swayed by lusty feelings, sensual feelings. Okay, that's my thought for the day. It's 5:30, that means we've gone almost an hour and a half. We'll stop here. Thank everyone out there. We heard from Rati that there was some kind of, but Austin is telling me that it hasn't broken up. The stream wasn't broken.
I did it one time.
Huh?
I did one time.
One time it did. Was that the time when she was staying?
No, it happened just a couple minutes ago. But Sudevi Dasi says the same thing.
What can we do? We have to do our best.
The sickness is quite strong, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very strong.
Yeah. It just means that's the way it is sometimes.
Yeah.
Even when we're doing the other readings here.
It always happens.
Yeah, it always happens. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Sri Rasa Lila ki jai. Srimati Radharani ki jai. The Gopis of Vrindavan ki jai. Sri Krishna ki jai. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. The holy place where we're sitting right now, Sri Govardhan Dham ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. We'll see you tomorrow at 4 o'clock, or as close as we can get there. We're in Indian stretchable time. Hare Krishna.